Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. I am Dr. Riegel, the developmental minister here at First Unitarian Church. First Unitarian Church is a place where you are free to be you, no matter your race, your sexual orientation, your gender identity, your socioeconomic status, your age, or what have you. So bring your questioning mind, your expansive heart. Bring your entire self to this beloved community. Our mission at First Unitarian Church is to welcome all with love, to support learning and spiritual growth, to serve our wider community, and to work for justice, equity, and inclusion. If you're visiting with us today, we especially welcome you. Please feel free to join us for coffee hour following the service, which will take place in the Ellen Hall Room. And if you don't know where the Ellen Hall Room is, the ushers can direct you there. We'd love to have a chance to get to know you and tell you a little bit about our beloved community. Our flowers today are donated by Lou Kerr. Thank you, Lou, who says he's remembering his BFF, Dave Simon, 1947 to 2022. Before we begin our service, we'd like to take a moment to wave to the people watching from home, but at the moment they're in darkness. Our video is not running just yet. Hopefully they can at least hear us. Let's shout hello to the people at home on YouTube, even though they... And then let's rise and greet our neighbors or say hello in the chat if you want to do that from YouTube. And when you hear the singing bowl ring, please return to your seats. So Scott Kelly, would you come forward and help us light the chalice this morning? We light our chalice this morning to the words of Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you, Scott. So I'm going to ask Joan Johnson to come forward and do our moment for Share the Plate this morning. And so I don't forget, after she does this, We're going to do the collection for Share the Plate during the first hymn. So stay seated for the first hymn, and we can just sing it over and over again until the collection is finished.
Good morning. My name is Joan Johnson. I've been here for a while. I have to do that. I'm so loud. My name is Joan Johnson. I've been a Unitarian my whole life. I've been here, this will be 20 years, and I am a CASA for Pro Kids. The card on your chair has a box where you can scan it, and it'll tell you everything you ever wanted to know. It's amazing what they can do with small spaces. In Hamilton County, in any given year, there are 3,500 children in the child protection system. That's 3,500 children whose parents may have failed them to such a degree that government agencies like Hamilton County Job and Family Services and Juvenile Court have to get involved to provide for their care and well-being, at least temporarily. Most of these children are in foster care, but some are placed with relatives in residential programs or even in the hospital. They are often lost in underfunded and the overburdened system. ProKids trains community members from all walks of life to advocate for these children. These volunteers are called court-appointed special advocates, or CASA volunteers. For some of those 3,500 children in the system, they are assigned a CASA volunteer, and the CASA becomes the one constant in the child's life. We visit the child and really get to know them and what they need. We become an expert on what the child needs to thrive. CASA volunteers are trained by ProKids to become effective advocates and are part of a ProKids team with their CASA manager and a staff attorney to stand up for the child's best interests, both in and out of court. The CASA volunteer advises the magistrate, who ultimately decides who will raise the child. And I have to tell you, I feel so appreciated not only by the children, but by their caregivers and their families. Every child's story is different, and so the advocacy provided by ProKids spans widely. CASA volunteers and ProKids staff show up in foster homes, classrooms, medical settings, and courtrooms, walking beside the kids they serve through it all. Our vision is a safe, permanent, and nurturing home for each one, and we need our community's help to achieve that goal. Last year, we had 301 CASA volunteers advocate for 965 children in Cincinnati, and most importantly, abuse stopped for 99% of these children. ProKids has tracked this outcome and many others for over 2 decades, and they have remained constant over time, even as our program has continued to grow. By the end of this year, we'll have advocated for closer to 1,100 children. Everyone in this room can do something to help these children. We'd love for you to give, but our number one goal is for you to get involved. Join our ProKids mailing list, sign up for our community e-news, attend a ProKids snapshot, tour our new space down on West 7th, or even consider becoming a CASA. The biggest myth we deconstruct at ProKids is that somebody else has got this. After more than 40 years, we know that the safety and success of our children, of our community's abused and neglected children, relies on all of us. Together we can do this. Thank you.
So as the ushers come forward to take up our Share the Plate collection, I encourage you to be as generous as you can for ProKids. And again, remain seated during our first hymn. Number 389, the words should appear on the screen behind the pulpit, and it is a very short hymn, so we're going to sing it through a number of times. And whenever it just feels like the right time to stop, I'll cue Jara, we'll stop and move on with the service. So if the ushers would. So, as I mentioned in my recent newsletter information, since this is the beginning of a new year, I thought we would spend the month of January just being a little more contemplative than usual. And so the next few services tend to give those of us who are more inclined to introspection and renewal and commitments an opportunity to think our lives through and decide how we want to show up in the world for the coming year. I'm going to start this week with, actually, it's a story about the two-faced god Janus from ancient Rome. If you haven't heard of Janus, it will be helpful to hear this reading from the Ancient History Encyclopedia. So here's your introduction to Janus if you are unfamiliar. The Roman Republic owed much to the cultural influence of its Greek neighbors. For centuries, the Greeks occupied a prominent position to the south of the island of Sicily. A series of wars in the 2nd and 3rd centuries BCE brought to the city a tremendous Hellenistic presence: art, literature, philosophy, and most significantly, religion. Although a rich religious tradition had existed long before the arrival of the Greeks, the pantheon of Greek gods quickly merged with those already present. However, there was one god with no Greek counterpart, one who symbolized both beginnings and endings. His name was evoked even before that of Jupiter. His name was Janus. Janus was one of the earliest of the Roman deities, sometimes referred to as the god of gods. According to some, he was the custodian of the universe, but to all Romans, he was the god of beginnings and endings. He presided over every entrance and every departure. Because every door and passageway looks in two directions, Janus was seen as two-faced, or Janus bifrons, the god who looked both ways. He was the gatekeeper. His symbols were a porter's staff and a set of keys. To illustrate his importance, his name was even mentioned before Jupiter in prayers. He protected the start of all activities. He inaugurated the seasons. The first day of each month was considered sacred to him. But the first month of the year, January, which many in the present day consider named in his honor, was actually named for Juno, queen of the gods. Early Roman coins featured Janus's image, showing him as two-faced, one bearded and one clean-shaven. Later, during the Renaissance, this image of two faces would represent not only the past and the future, but also great wisdom. So we Unitarians are so used to sermons that are factual and information-packed and linear because our minds like to digest rational stuff. But on occasion, I'll do something like share a parable or a poem or read a story. And I've noticed over the years that I tend to get people coming up to me who are used to our very rational, information-packed Unitarian sermon style saying, I didn't quite get what that parable was about, or I didn't understand that poem, or I didn't get the point of that story. So what I tell people is when I veer off and I do things that are less rational and information-packed and linear, and I do a poem or a parable or a story, just listen and trust that if there's something in that content that your heart needs to grab, your heart will grab it. And then you can hang on to that piece of it. So hopefully something out of this morning's story will be something that your heart will grab. It might be a paragraph, it might be a line, it might even be a takeaway of your own when you went on a stream of consciousness 10 minutes in and had your own thought. But that might be your grist for the mill this morning as well. So be that as it may, here is a story about Janus, the two-faced god of ancient Rome. It was New Year's Eve. I had retired early for the evening. But suddenly I was awakened by the stroke of midnight. When I opened my eyes, there was Janus, the two-faced god of ancient Rome. He turned his face hither and yon, leered at the past, peered into the future, and once more pronounced himself the marker of time. Then he asked me that burning question: what have you done with your life? The great marker of time demanded to know of me, what have you done with the time we have given you? And startled by this unexpected appearance and the sight of this great creature, I whimpered a reply. I don't know. Haven't considered the matter. Not considered the matter, he stormed. How can you say I have not considered the matter when without time you are nothing? Without time, eternity is not split, is not rent asunder by us gods for the meager lifespan of you mortals, we who hem you in at birth and death by infinity. Without time, you would not exist. How can you say, I have not considered the matter? Well, frightened, I waited in silence, gazing blankly into the eyes of this two-faced god. The faces of this god were those of the past and the future. The face of the future, which I only glimpsed on the occasions when Janus would turn his head away from me, was like a mirror that cast no reflection, a void that would not requite. This only makes sense since humankind should not see the unknowns that lie before it. The face of the past, the face with which I was confronted, was the face of judgment. It struck an amazing resemblance to my own, only it was unforgiving and judgmental and harsh. And after some time, the two-faced god leaned toward me and said, I suggest you consider the matter. Go ahead, I'll wait. Perhaps some other time, I said. It is the middle of the night. Perhaps now, he said, for I decree this night. For this night I have set aside an eternal moment, the stroke of midnight, that you might weigh yourself in the balance marked human worth. So consider now what you have done with your life. Prove you are worthy of the gift of time. Prove that we gods have interrupted eternity for a worthy cause. With these words, Janus and I were enveloped in an eternal moment, what T.S. Eliot calls the still point of the turning world. The still point of the turning world. It is that instant that is eternal, bearing neither movement nor passage of time, only consciousness, fully aware of itself. Or shall we say, consciousness aware that all things reside in it, and it in all things, to be overly esoteric. At the still point of the turning world, says Eliot, there the dance is, neither arrest nor movement, where past and future are gathered together. Neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance. And there is only the dance. So we entered the eternal moment, Janus and I, to weigh my life on the scale marked human worth. We danced the dance of judgment, I making my case and the two-faced God sitting in his judge's chair. Again, the question came bellowing from the great marker of time, what have you done with your life? Prove yourself worthy of the time given you. Well, pensively, I searched for an appropriate response. And after some thought, I hesitantly replied, I have achieved goals. Goals? What goals? The two-faced God inquired. Many goals. Enumerate them, he said. Well, in college, I studied the ancient discipline of philosophy. I was even accepted into the honors program. I went on to study at Harvard with some of the world's greatest minds. Janus stared at me, and only silence emanated from this two-faced God. I continued, well, in my adult life, I've established a career, a successful one, and I've achieved more credentials. And the two-faced God remained silent. I enumerated my goals for minutes on end, and finally I concluded, these are the goals I had set, and these are the goals I had achieved, and frankly, I'm rather proud of myself. The two-faced God exclaimed, arbitrary markers of a mediocre life. There is nothing exceptional in these achievements, he said. Well, they're very impressive achievements, I ventured to say. Not so, he replied. Considering your studies, were you the smartest philosophy student in the honors program? No, I was second smartest. Bill was the genius. And at Harvard, were you the brightest? Well, no, by Harvard standards, I was pretty average. And what of this career? Does anyone do it better than you? Well, of course some do it better than me, I said. Then you are not the best at it, are you? Well, no, I'm not the best. Well, then you admit, do you not, said Janus, that you're not the best student, nor are you the best minister. Well, yes, I must admit it, I said. There are those who have been better than me. Well, then you smack of mediocrity, said the two-faced God. If you are to prove yourself worthy of the time given you, you must impress me more. I thought for some time as the eternal moment bore on, and I looked about me. I saw no motion, no passage of time. Everything was frozen, like a frozen cyclone, waiting to hear my reply, and I had nothing more to say. The two-faced God was right. I had no achievements about which I really had the right to boast, none that would really justify my existence. But what else marks a human life? What else makes me worthy of my time, if not my accomplishments? My heart began to sink into despair as I struggled with my existence. I thought of my accomplishments, and none seemed worthy. But then I thought of the people in my life, lovers and friends and family members, past and present. It was then that the answer struck me. I have known love. I was sure that's what Janus was after. I have known the love of family, friends, and lovers. I have known the heights and depths of the passions of the earth. And this, truer to the human experience than any accomplishment I might achieve, surely justifies the time given me. For what lies behind us is a tiny matter compared to what lies within. Surely I had found the answer. Then, mustering my courage, I gazed into the eyes of Janus and pronounced with confidence, I have known love and I have loved. I have known the heights and depths of the passions of the earth. In this my existence is justified. The two-faced God paused silently a long time. He contemplated my claim. The eternal moment endured until I could not endure it any longer, when Janus finally spoke. You say you have loved. Enumerate these loves. And so I began. I have loved my family, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. I have loved my friends, Tom and Karen, Craig and Melissa. And I have loved lovers. Love is endless, as so is the number of those whom we love. I was shocked when Janus scoffed and retorted, You say you have known love. Do you not recall the pain you caused your parents in your youth? How you rejected them? How you took them for granted? Do you recall the times when your friends needed you? How, when they reached out to you in their time of need, you were not always there? Do you remember the pain you caused your lovers, those you let grow closest to your soul, only to tear them out by the roots, leaving them to wither in the heat of love? I was ashamed. Again, the two-faced God was right. I had caused pain, sometimes great pain, to those that I loved. Yes, I'd done my best. I'd been there in times of happiness and sorrow, joy and despair. I had rejoiced with those I loved, cried with them, lent them my shoulder in times of need. But so, too, probably too often, I had also failed them, one and all, in some way, in some form, at some time. Somehow, in some way, I had failed each and every one. So no, my passions for the earth could not prove me worthy of the time given me, for I had loved incompletely. I had loved imperfectly. Still, the eternal moment bore on, waiting for me to justify the time given me. That frozen cyclone, the universe in wait, as though it could not continue until the two-faced God and I had come to terms. So I thought and thought, but could not discover within me the justification for my existence. No deed done, no feeling felt, could acquit me before this judge, this great marker of time. Seeing this, he declared to me, You, mere mortal, have not justified yourself. No deed done, no feeling felt, accounts for the time given you. So mark my words well. On this one night of the year, every year, you shall reflect on your life, past misdeeds, failures, and shortcomings, and then resolve to better yourself. You shall resolve to make improvements, to try new things, to alter your character for the better. You shall, in a word, seek perfection. This you shall do with your life, or you shall suffer the consequence of wasting the time given you, the slow misery of living an unexamined life. And with these words, the two-faced God disappeared. Time closed in on me again. The clock struck its final note, marking the midnight hour. Resting myself from my bed, I sat with my feet on the floor. It was good to feel the cool floor under my feet, the chill of the air around my body, the distant sounds of cars on the road. Still, my mind, filled at once with the truth contained in that eternal moment, longed for a refuge from my experience of the two-faced God. Again, I thought of T.S. Eliot, who said, "Humankind cannot bear very much reality." Indeed, in the still point of the turning world, in the eternal moment of Janus, truth falls upon the unsheltered soul like rain from the sky, a burden too big for us mere mortals to bear. No, humankind cannot bear very much reality. So I sought solace in the world again, in moments that pass and figures that move, where there is no eternal moment to flood me with the unbearable truth about myself, about the world, or about the gods. This life is what I longed for, though the experience with the two-faced God remained in my soul, stuck like a sour conviction to the walls of my conscience. Janus's imprint was upon me. Everywhere I looked, I could see my life only through his eyes, those eyes of judgment. New Year's Eve had taken its toll. I had become another victim of Janus, the great marker of time. I made my way toward the window in the living room of my apartment and glared at the night sky, the crescent moon, the stars in their places, with the bitter cold air on the other side of the glass, reaching through to nip at my fingertips resting on the glass. In the hallway, the sound of strangers celebrated the new year. Voices too loud, nonsensical laughter, the echo of that melancholy song to which nobody knows the words, sung year after year after year. Even the drip of the faucet, recalcitrant, kept begging the question of the two-faced God. What have you done with your life? What have you done with your life? I tried to escape into the starlight that as a youth sparkled with promises of things to come, but now only punctuated relentlessly this haunting question. Sinking into my wicker chair, I could not escape the look of the two-faced God, that countenance that bespoke judgment. So I admitted to myself my imperfections, made my humble confessions. I'm not worthy of the time given me. I do smack of mediocrity. I have failed again and again. My deeds do not justify my existence. My feelings do not account for my time. Perhaps Sartre was right. Perhaps man is simply a useless passion. Perhaps so. Perhaps so. And thinking thusly, dejectedly, I made my way back to my bed. And shortly, I fell asleep to my new mantra born of judgment and despair. Man is a useless passion. Man is a useless passion. It seemed like an eternity of sleep passed until again I was wakened by the sound of the clock striking midnight. Like the words of some ancient magic formula, this mantra must have called forth yet another God from some unknown depths. For again I was face to face with a God. Though this God was not like Janus, not two-faced, not judgmental, not unforgiving. I felt no countenance piercing through me. I saw only a form, crystalline, humanoid, and oddly familiar, but I couldn't quite place. and this God would not tell me its name. And it spoke with a serenity that touched me deep in my soul. It too inquired of me. It too wanted to know, and thus it spoke. Do you truly believe that man is a useless passion? That the heights and the depths of the human soul are for naught? Uncertain, I made no reply. Astonished, I made no reply. Amazed, confused, bewildered, I made no reply. So the God continued, this I have come to share with you, as the God of all gods has ordered it. So listen well. Humans are made in the image of imperfection. Molded by gods, the most perfect beings ever to have been, you are not so cursed. Your failures are intentional. We've bred them into you. Your shortcomings, your mistakes, your insecurities, your doubts, your inabilities, intentional, one and all. You, human, are imperfection made perfect. Because no life perfected has a purpose. No life perfected serves a cause. In this creation, all things were designed in part that they may need the rest of creation to complete them. Thus you try and you fail. Thus you love and you fail to love completely. But do not betray your passions for this earth. Do not judge them futile. They are the mark of imperfection, the mark of being truly human. You have been blessed with imperfection. Do not covet the divine. The nameless God disappeared as quickly as he came, and my tongue finally loosened. I called after him with many questions. Wait, come back. Who are you? What about Janus? What does that mean? Do not covet the divine. His voice did not requite. And again, I was alone, left in silence to ponder, to contemplate the meaning of this visit. What does that mean? You have been blessed with imperfection. Do not covet the divine. I meditated endlessly on this phrase. You have been blessed with imperfection. Blessed with imperfection? Do not covet the divine. Again, time closed in on me, and the clock struck its final note, marking the midnight hour. Confused, resting myself from my bed, I sat with my feet on the floor. It was good to feel the cool floor under my feet, the chill of the air around my body, the distant sound of cars on the road. Making my way toward the window in the living room of my apartment, I glared at the night sky, the crescent moon, the stars in their places, with the bitter cold air on the other side of the glass reaching through to nip at my fingertips, resting on the glass. In the hallway, the sound of strangers celebrated the new year. Voices too loud, nonsensical laughter, the echo of that melancholy song to which nobody knows the words, sung year after year after year. The drip of the faucet, recalcitrant, kept repeating the phrase of the nameless God. You have been blessed with imperfection. Do not covet the divine. You have been blessed with imperfection. Do not covet the divine. I tried to escape into the starlight that as a youth had sparkled with promises of things to come, but now only punctuated relentlessly these enigmatic words. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, and I opened it to find a young woman standing on tiptoe draped in mistletoe. She quickly pecks me on the cheek and says, "Happy New Year," then asked me what my New Year's resolution is. And I tell her, haven't made any. Hadn't even thought about the matter. Hadn't thought about the matter, she quips. You'd better hurry. Wouldn't want to get the new year off to a bad start now, would we? Then as quickly as she arrived, she bounds away down the corridor. I close the door and slump into my wicker chair. The young woman's words remind me of the haunting visits from Janus and the god with no name. What to do? What to do? Who could forget the gaze of the two-faced God who commanded me? On this one night of the year, every year, you shall reflect on your life, past misdeeds, failures, and shortcomings, and resolve to better yourself. And who could forget the enigmatic advice of the God with no names? You have been blessed with imperfection. Do not covet the divine. I was torn between two worlds, between judgment and despair, and forgiveness and hope. I felt like my fate was in the balance at that very moment. So I spent the rest of the night awake in silence. I struggled with the meaning of these visits. I got up, I paced in angst, I sat on my cushion in contemplation. I watched the minutes of the clock pass like molasses until dawn revealed the coming day. And finally, with the first ray of sunlight, my battle was over. I had resolved, only to resolve, that I would make no New Year's resolution. I would not seek perfection as Janus had commanded. I would appreciate the blessings of imperfection, as the nameless God had said. And in the mirror, my face was fresh, clean, and new. I knew this would be a very good year. So our final hymn this morning is number 1009 in the teal hymnal, if you have it. If not, it should appear behind us on the screen. It's meditation on breathing, and let's just do this for a while until the mood strikes us to move on. Okay? Seated if you want. Hallelujah, sure enough. I could do that one for a long time. But I don't think you'd all tolerate an hour of that, would you? I don't know. Raise your hand if you would. See, I'm right. Trust my intuitions. Scott, would you come forward and extinguish the chalice for us? We extinguish the chalice to these words from Elizabeth Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Blessed be. Amen. And Happy New Year.